The ultimatum, the Kryn Empire's warfleet, emerged from hyperspace, like ghosts materializing from the void. 250 vessels, each one a fortress of dark metal and glowing energy cores, positioned themselves in a perfect sphere around Earth's solar system. They had traveled across 3 galaxies to reach this unremarkable yellow star. Drawn by reports of a developing civilization ripe for annexation, the arrival of conquerors, Admiral Tharos stood aboard the command vessel Eternal Dominion, his 4 eyes scanning the primitive solar system before him. The 3rd planet from the star glowed blue and green, swirling with white clouds. Earth, the humans called it. Tharos had conquered 42 worlds in his career. This would be the 43rd, and likely the easiest. His clawed hand touched the communication panel with practiced ease. The species inhabiting this system had only ventured into space 2 centuries prior. Their vessels were small, slow, and powered by chemical reactions that the Kryn had abandoned millennia ago. According to intelligence reports, humanity had established colonies on 3 planets and 7 moons. Impressive for primitives, perhaps, but laughable compared to the Kryn Empire's reach across 1,000 star systems. First Contact Protocol Tharos initiated the standard annexation protocol. His message broadcast across every frequency humanity used for communication. Radio waves, quantum channels, even the primitive electromagnetic signals they called television. The translation matrices ensured his words would reach every human ear in their own language. Inhabitants of the Sol system, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. I am Admiral Tharos of the Kryn Empire, Supreme Commander of the Annexation Fleet. Your system has been designated for incorporation into the Empire. You have 48 hours to comply with our terms. Surrender all military assets. Provide complete planetary resources inventory. Prepare for governance transition. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Compliance will be rewarded with protection. Choose wisely. Earth's response. The message reached Earth in 8 minutes, traveling at light speed from the outer system where the Kryn fleet waited. In the underground Strategic Command Center beneath Geneva, Director Catherine Wells received the transmission along with every world leader simultaneously. The room fell into controlled chaos as advisors shouted, generals demanded action, and diplomats urged caution. Catherine raised her hand. Silence fell immediately. She had led the Unified Earth Defense Council for 15 years, chosen specifically for her calm under pressure. Today, that pressure was unprecedented. She looked at the holographic projection of the alien fleet surrounding their solar system. The formation was perfect, designed to intimidate and control. Open a channel, she said quietly. Her communications officer nodded, fingers flying across the interface. Within seconds, Catherine's face appeared on Admiral Tharos's main screen, transmitted across the void between worlds. Admiral Tharos, Catherine began, her voice steady. I am Director Catherine Wells, representing the unified governments of Earth and her colonies. We acknowledge your message. However, we cannot comply with your demands. We request immediate diplomatic negotiations to discuss peaceful coexistence. The Kryn's arrogance Tharos studied the human female on his screen. She looked fragile, her skin pale and smooth, lacking any of the hardened scales that marked a proper warrior species. Her species stood on 2 legs, had 2 eyes, and possessed no visible natural weapons. How had such weak creatures even survived to develop technology? Director Wells, Tharos replied, amusement evident in his tone. There is nothing to negotiate. We are not equals. We are conquerors. You are the conquered. The Kryn Empire has absorbed a species far more advanced than yours. You have 48 hours. Use them to prepare your surrender, not waste time with pointless dialogue. Catherine's expression never changed, but those watching her in the command center saw her jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. Admiral, I urge you to reconsider. Leave our solar system peacefully. This is your first and final warning. We do not wish for conflict, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." Tharos laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the communication link. His officers joined in, their mocking sounds filling both bridges. "You warn us? You, with your 50 ships against our 250? You warn the Kryn Empire?" His laughter died, replaced by cold menace. 48 hours, human. Then we take what we want." The transmission ended. Catherine stood motionless for a moment, then turned to her command staff. "Activate Protocol Sentinel. Authorization Wells Omega-7. The hidden truth every person in the room froze. Protocol Sentinel was spoken of in whispers, a myth to most of Earth's population, a nightmare scenario to those few who knew the truth. General Marcus Chun, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces, stepped forward. "Director, are you certain? Once we activate Sentinel, there's no turning back. The whole system becomes a weapon." Catherine walked to the central holographic display showing their solar system. She touched the interface, and layers of information appeared that few had ever seen. Thousands of dots materialized throughout the system, satellites that were more than they seemed, asteroids hiding terrible secrets, planets armed with technology that officially did not exist. 200 years ago, Catherine said quietly, addressing everyone in the room, when we first left Earth, our leaders made a decision. They remembered every war we had fought among ourselves. They remembered the nuclear weapons that almost destroyed our world. They learned a lesson from our own history. Peace exists only when the cost of war becomes unthinkable. She expanded the view, showing installations on Mars, weapon platforms orbiting Venus, mining facilities in the asteroid belt that were anything but simple mines. For 2 centuries, every space mission, every colony ship, every research station has served a dual purpose. We explored, yes. We built new homes for humanity, yes. But we also prepared. We weaponized everything. A young lieutenant raised her hand nervously. "Director, the report said we only have defensive capabilities. Basic missiles and railguns." Catherine smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "That's what we wanted the galaxy to think." The Kryn studied our public broadcasts, our commercial shipping manifests, our civilian communications. They saw exactly what we wanted them to see. A young species, barely capable of self-defense, perfect for conquest. General Chun pulled up detailed schematics on his personal screen. The Sentinel network is divided into 7 layers of defense. Each layer can independently engage hostile forces. The Kryn think they face 50 ships. They actually face a solar system that's been turned into the largest defensive weapon ever conceived. Asterisk the countdown begins 38 hours became 47 and 46. The Kryn fleet maintained their positions, confident and patient. They had done this countless times before. Species always surrendered. Some fought briefly, but the outcome was inevitable. The Kryn always won, but something strange was happening in Earth's solar system. Admiral Tharos's sensor officers began reporting anomalies. Energy readings fluctuating across multiple planets. Satellite networks realigning in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Asteroid belt showing unusual gravimetric distortions. Probably their primitive attempts at hiding resources. Tharos dismissed the reports. Or perhaps preparing to evacuate their leadership. It matters not. We will find them all. On Earth, Catherine Wells barely slept during those 48 hours. She reviewed every system, every contingency, every possible outcome. She spoke with colony leaders on Mars, the lunar bases, the stations orbiting Jupiter's moons. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone had voted unanimously. Earth would not bow. Humanity would not surrender. Director, her assistant interrupted her review of defensive protocols. We're receiving a message from the Kryn flagship. Admiral Tharos demands our final answer. Catherine checked the chronometer. 47 hours and 58 minutes had passed. In 2 minutes, the deadline would expire. She stood, straightened her uniform, and walked to the communication station. Open the channel. Admiral Tharos appeared on screen, expecting to see fear, perhaps desperation. Instead, Catherine Wells looked at him with something he did not recognize. It was not defiance exactly. It was certainty. The final exchange, Admiral Tharos, Catherine said calmly. Our answer is no. We reject your demands. We reject your Empire's claim to our system. We gave you 48 hours to leave peacefully. You have chosen to stay. This is your final opportunity. Leave now or face the consequences of your decision. Tharos felt anger surge through him. How dare this primitive creature speak to him with such audacity? You threaten me? You threaten the Kryn Empire? Your arrogance will cost you everything. I will burn your cities from orbit. I will enslave your population. I will make an example of Earth that the entire galaxy will remember. Catherine's expression never wavered. We gave you fair warning, Admiral. What happens next is your responsibility, not ours. Humanity wanted peace. You have chosen war. History will record that we tried. History will record that you were fools, Tharos snarled. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Begin the attack. All ships advance to Earth. Destroy their orbital defenses. Prepare bombardment of major population centers. Show these humans the price of defiance. The Kryn fleet broke formation, transforming from a static sphere into an advancing armada. 250 warships accelerated toward Earth, their weapons charging, their shields at maximum power. It was an unstoppable force, a wall of military might that had crushed every opposition it had ever faced. Admiral Tharos watched Earth growing larger on his main display. In 6 hours, they would reach the planet. In 7 hours, humanity would be on its knees. He smiled, anticipating another easy victory. He had no idea that in activating Protocol Sentinel, Catherine Wells had awakened a defense system so comprehensive, so devastatingly effective, that the Kryn Empire was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. Humanity had spent 200 years preparing for this exact moment. They had learned from their own violent history. They had weaponized an entire solar system. The Kryn were about to discover why Earth's warning was not a bluff. They were about to learn that humans did not make empty threats. And they were about to understand, far too late, that the most dangerous species in the galaxy is the one that learned to survive by nearly destroying itself. The battle for Earth was 6 hours away, and the countdown to the Kryn Empire's greatest defeat had already begun. Asterisk. The reckoning the Kryn armada moved through space like a wave of destruction. 250 warships arranged in attack formation. Admiral Tharos watched from his command throne as Earth grew larger on the tactical display. His fleet had crossed half the distance to the primitive planet. 3 hours until they reached weapons range. 3 hours until humanity learned the cost of defying the Kryn Empire. The Trap Springs Admiral, his sensor officer, called out, tension creeping into his voice. I'm detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the system. Multiple sources activating simultaneously. Tharos glanced at the sensor readings, seeing dozens of small dots lighting up across his display. Explain. Unknown, sir. The signatures are appearing on asteroids, satellites, even some of the planets. They're powering up something, but our sensors can't identify what. Before Tharos could respond, space itself seemed to shatter. What his fleet had thought were simple communication satellites suddenly revealed their true nature. Hundreds of them, scattered throughout Earth's orbital space, reconfigured in seconds. Panels opened, revealing weapons that should not exist on a species this young. The first barrage hit the forward, Kryn ships without warning. Not primitive missiles or simple lasers, but directed energy weapons using quantum entanglement targeting. The beams ignored distance, appearing instantaneously on their targets. 12 Kryn warships exploded before their shields could even register the attack. Evasive maneuvers. Tharos roared, his confidence evaporating. All ships, defensive formation. Return fire. But the Kryn fleet discovered that changing formation was impossible. Every ship that tried to alter course found itself locked in place by gravity wells that had materialized around them. Invisible anchors of bent space-time held the mighty warships frozen like insects in amber. "Admiral, we cannot move." His navigation officer reported, panic evident. "Something is manipulating local gravity. Our engines are at full power, but we're not going anywhere." The network awakens on Earth. Director Catherine Wells stood in the command center, watching the battle unfold across multiple displays. Each screen showed a different aspect of the Sentinel network activating. 2 centuries of preparation were unfolding in perfect sequence. "Layer 1 is fully engaged," General Chun reported. "Orbital platforms have eliminated 12 targets. Gravity anchors holding the enemy fleet in position." Catherine nodded. "Proceed to Layer 2. Throughout the asteroid belt, installations that the Kryn had dismissed as mining operations came alive. Humanity had hollowed out hundreds of asteroids over the past 200 years, transforming them into weapons platforms. Each one contained railguns capable of accelerating tungsten projectiles to 15% of light speed. The asteroids rotated, revealing massive barrel arrays. They fired in unison, launching thousands of metal slugs across the void. The projectiles crossed millions of kilometers in minutes, their speed and mass turning them into devastating kinetic weapons that Taros watched in horror as the projectiles tore through his fleet. Energy shields designed to deflect laser beams and plasma bolts were useless against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The tungsten slugs punched through shields like they were not even there, ripping through hull armor, destroying power cores, and venting atmosphere into space. 23 more Kryn ships disintegrated under the barrage. The survivors tried desperately to target the asteroid platforms, but their targeting computers could not lock onto sources so far away and so numerous. The hidden arsenal. How is this possible? Tharos demanded, his claws gripping his command throne hard enough to leave marks. Intelligence said they were primitives. They should not have this technology. His science officer pulled up data streams, analyzing the weapons hitting them. "Admiral, these systems are ancient by their standards. Some of these platforms have been in place for over a century. They've been building this network since they first left their planet." Tharos felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. The humans had not simply defended themselves. They had lured his entire fleet into a carefully constructed killing field. Every asteroid, every satellite, every seemingly innocent piece of space debris was part of an integrated defensive network. Full retreat. Tharos ordered. "All ships, maximum emergency power to engines. We must escape this trap." But escape was not an option. Catherine Wells had anticipated exactly this response. She looked at General Chun and gave a single nod. Layer 3. On Mars, installations buried beneath the red sand activated. Massive magnetic accelerators, built over decades under the guise of terraforming equipment, powered up. They had been designed with one purpose: to launch payloads at speeds that defied conventional physics. The Martian launchers fired, sending specialized missiles toward the Kryn fleet. These were not simple explosives. Each missile contained a miniature fusion reactor and a payload of antimatter suspended in magnetic containment fields. When they reached their targets, The containment failed deliberately. Matter and antimatter annihilated each other in bursts of pure energy. The explosions were small, precise, and absolutely devastating. Another 31 Kryn ships vanished in flashes of light, brighter than the sun. The solar weapon admiral. Tharos's fleet had been reduced from 250 ships to 184 in less than 20 minutes. His officers shouted conflicting reports. Systems failed across the flagship, and the screams of dying crew members echoed through the communication channels from other vessels. Director Wells. Tharos opened a channel to Earth, his pride shattered. I request immediate ceasefire. We surrender. Please stop the attack. Catherine's face appeared on his screen, her expression neutral. You were warned, Admiral. You were given 48 hours to leave peacefully. You chose aggression. You chose to threaten our families, our homes, our very existence. Did you expect us to simply accept annihilation? I made a mistake, Tharos admitted, his voice breaking. I underestimated you. Please, we surrender. Let us leave in peace. Catherine was quiet for a long moment. Behind her, General Chun and the other commanders waited. Finally, she spoke. The Sentinel network has 7 layers, Admiral. You have experienced 3. Before I consider your surrender, you will see Layer 4. Consider it a lesson. Consider it the price of your arrogance. The sun's furry Tharos's blood ran cold. There was more? 3 layers had already destroyed over 60 of his ships. What could possibly be worse? He got his answer seconds later. Around the sun, humanity's greatest and most terrifying weapon activated. Project Helios, built secretly over 50 years, was a network of satellites positioned in solar orbit. Each satellite contained massive focusing arrays and quantum processors, capable of calculating trajectories with perfect accuracy. The satellites activated in sequence, capturing and redirecting solar energy. They focused the power of Earth's star itself, concentrating it into coherent beams of pure stellar fire. The beams lanced across the solar system at the speed of light, invisible until they struck their targets. 40 Kryn warships simply ceased to exist. The focused solar energy did not damage them. It vaporized them instantly. Metal, organic matter, even the exotic materials used in their shields, all of it converted to plasma in microseconds. Asterisk. Tharos collapsed in his command throne, watching his fleet die around him. 144 ships remained from the 250 that had entered the system so confidently. Over 40% casualties, and the humans had not even deployed their actual military fleet yet. Stop, Tharos whispered. Then louder, stop, please. We surrender completely. No conditions. We will leave. We will tell the galaxy what happened here. Just please, stop killing my people. Humanity's message Catherine Wells studied the broken admiral on her screen. She felt no satisfaction in the destruction, only grim necessity. She had not wanted this. Earth had not wanted this. But the Kryn had forced their hand. General Chun, cease fire. All Sentinel network layers, standby mode. The barrage stopped. The solar beams shut down. The asteroid platforms went silent. In the sudden quiet, 144 damaged Kryn ships drifted in space, surrounded by the debris of their fallen comrades. Admiral Tharos, Catherine said, her voice carrying across the void. You came to our system, expecting an easy conquest. You saw a young species and assumed weakness. That was your fatal error. Humanity has been to the brink of self-destruction. We created weapons capable of ending our own species. We learned from that darkness. We learned that true strength is not the willingness to attack, but the capability to defend absolutely. She stood, and behind her, every person in the command center stood as well. You asked what makes humans dangerous, Admiral. I will tell you. We are dangerous because we remember. We remember every war, every genocide, every time we turned our weapons on ourselves. We remember the cost of aggression. And we swore, as a species, that never again would we be victims. Never again would we be helpless. Tharos listened, his 4 eyes fixed on the human director who had just demonstrated military capabilities beyond anything the Kryn Empire possessed. You have 3 of your ships, still fully operational, Catherine continued. You will take those ships and return to your empire. You will tell them what happened here. You will tell them that Earth offered peace and the Kryn chose war. You will tell them that the Sentinel Network has 4 more layers you never saw. And you will tell them this: humanity wants peace with all species, but we will defend ourselves with every weapon we possess. The aftermath. 2 days later, 3 Kryn ships limped out of Earth's solar system, carrying survivors and the tale of their defeat. Admiral Tharos sent one final transmission before entering hyperspace. I came to conquer primitives. I found the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They do not seek war, but woe to any who bring war to them. In the command center beneath Geneva, Catherine Wells watched the Kryn ships disappear from sensors. General Chun stood beside her, looking at the holographic display of their solar system. Do you think they'll be back? He asked. Catherine shook her head slowly. Not the Kryn, but others will come eventually. Species who hear the story and don't believe it. Species who think they can succeed where the Kryn failed. And when they do, we'll give them the same warning we gave Tharos. Leave peacefully or face the consequences. The Sentinel Network will be waiting. It will always be waiting. General Chun looked at the display showing all 7 layers of the defensive network. Layers 4 through 7 had never been activated, never been seen by the Kryn. Weapons even more devastating than what they had already witnessed. Humanity's final insurance policy against extinction. It seems wrong, Chun said quietly, that we had to build all this, that we had to turn our solar system into a weapon. Catherine nodded. It is wrong, but it's necessary. Every species that reaches the stars faces a choice. Trust in the goodness of others or prepare for the worst. We tried trust once, in our own history. It led to wars that killed billions. We learned, General. We learned that peace requires strength. Not the strength to attack, but the strength to make attack unthinkable. A new era news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Kryn Empire, humbled for the first time in its history, withdrew from expansion efforts. Other aggressive species reconsidered their policies toward younger civilizations. And Earth, the small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, became known throughout the galaxy by a new name, the Fortress World. Diplomatic channels opened. Species that had ignored humanity's requests for contact now sought treaties and trade agreements. The galactic community, vast and ancient, had learned a critical lesson. Age did not determine capability. Experience did not guarantee victory. And the species that had nearly destroyed itself with its own weapons had become the one species that no sane empire would ever threaten. Catherine Wells stood in the observation deck of the Geneva Command Center, looking up at the stars through the reinforced crystal dome. Somewhere out there, the Kryn fleet was returning home, carrying the story of their defeat. Somewhere out there, other species were learning about the Sentinel Network, about humanity's defensive capabilities, about the price of threatening Earth. She thought about all the weapons they had built, all the preparations made over 2 centuries. She thought about the Kryn who had died in the battle, casualties of their empire's arrogance. She felt no joy in their deaths, only sadness that such violence had been necessary. But she also felt pride. Pride in humanity's unity, in their determination to survive, in their refusal to become victims ever again. They had given the Kryn a warning. The Kryn had ignored it, and now the entire galaxy knew Earth's warnings were not bluffs. Humanity's promises were not empty, and the cost of threatening human survival was devastation beyond imagination. The stars shone peacefully above her, countless worlds spinning in the darkness. Some hostile, some friendly, all now aware of the small species that had turned its solar system into an impregnable fortress. Earth had not sought war. Earth had offered peace. But when forced to fight, Earth had proven that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons, but their unwavering determination to survive. One final warning had been given. The galaxy had witnessed the consequence of ignoring it, and in the silence of space, the Sentinel network stood ready, waiting, hoping it would never need to fire again, but prepared absolutely if it ever did. Humanity had joined the galactic community not as conquerors, but as defenders. Not as aggressors, but as survivors. And the message was clear to every species among the stars. Approach Earth in peace or leave in terror. There would be no third option. Asterisk